Hey, it's NPR's Book of the Day. I'm Andrew Limbong. My mom had a whole life before I came around, and she continues to have a life outside of me. In fact, there's probably a whole side of my mom that I've never experienced. That's one of those stupidly obvious things that takes a while to sink in. For me and for a lot of people. And it's the running theme between the two books we've got for you today. In a bit, we'll hear about a woman trying to unfurl the mystery of her own mother. But first, Emma Knight's debut novel is a coming-of-age story about a young woman named Pen who is a new student at the University of Edinburgh. It's titled The Life Cycle of the Common Octopus. And in this interview with NPR's Mary Louise Kelly, Knight talks about how the octopus is actually a metaphor for early motherhood. That's ahead.
This message comes from Schwab. At Schwab, how you invest is your choice, not theirs. That's why when it comes to managing your wealth, Schwab gives you more choices. You can invest and trade on your own. Plus, get advice and more comprehensive wealth solutions to help meet your unique needs. With award-winning service, low costs, and transparent advice, you can manage your wealth your way at Schwab. Visit schwab.com to learn more.
In the opening pages of Emma Knight's debut novel, she describes a typical student breakfast at the University of Edinburgh, Scotland. Scrambled eggs too puffy to be true, she writes. Also, baked beans with a faint aftertaste of ash, pliable triangles of potato bread, and something darkly sausage-like. Well, I had to smile reading this, having been a student at a British university myself back in the 90s. Along with breakfast, Knight's novel takes on subjects of motherhood and female friendship and first love. The novel is The Life Cycle of the Common Octopus. Emma Knight, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a joy to be here.
And I have to congratulate you on the alarmingly accurate description of the darkly sausage-like food as you're describing the cafeteria offerings for students in Britain. Is this a delight you experienced firsthand?
It absolutely is, although my favorite was the porridge.
Which they do quite well.
Extremely well.
All right, so tell us about your protagonist. Her name is Pen, and she has just arrived as a student in Edinburgh.
Yes, so Pen is an overachieving 18-year-old late bloomer from Toronto. Her real name is Penelope, but she goes by the on-the-nose, on-purpose nickname Pen. She aspires to be a magazine writer, and she doesn't really believe in marriage, so she's cut off the elope.
I didn't even catch that as I was reading, but that's great. Yeah, go on.
So she, throughout her childhood, could sense that her parents were hiding something from her. And at age 18, she decides that she's going to find out what.
Yeah.
She goes to the University of Edinburgh, in part to get far away from where she grew up and have adventures, but also because she wants to find an estranged friend of her father's.
This is a man named Lord Lennox,
Yeah.
and he is also an elusive Scottish writer of mysteries. Tell us more about him and his family, who we get to know quite well.
Yeah, so Elliot Lennox has been dubbed the Peerless Peer by the press, and he is a well-known author of detective fiction whose series of novels have been gripping the world for over a decade by the time Penn tracks him down. And he is one of those fortunate people who found the right job for his talents. He grew up in a beautiful, crumbling castle on the east coast of Scotland, and he is extremely welcoming toward Penn, to a degree that surprises her. He invites her to spend the weekend. She writes him a letter through his literary agent, not even really expecting a response. And he writes back, inviting her to come on the train and spend the weekend. So she does, and she meets his seemingly perfect family, his captivating wife, Christina, and his son, Sasha. She keeps tugging at the thread of this family secret that she knows exists, but she doesn't know too much about it. And he does just about anything to make her feel welcome, except for answering her direct questions.
She does do a lot of growing up in that 1 year. You write one beautiful scene between her and her father, who has shown up out of nowhere. He decides he's going to appear and take her out to dinner. And you describe him, among other things, as knowing how to wield silence. And you write that Penn, in contrast, was too young still to know how not to fill the silence. Tell me what you're playing with there.
This is definitely something I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Part of it is about the dramatic irony that exists when one gets a bit older and is able to look back on one's younger self and see all of the knowledge gaps that are glaring. Penn, the child, is with her father, and Penn, the adult, is observing the questions that young Penn has for her father that he can't quite answer. The older narrator views with a lot more empathy and understanding of the position that he's in.
You also bring so much laughter and joy, just pure joy to the scenes of what it's like to be 18 years old, 19 years old, out in the world for the first time. There's so much banter and silliness and flirting. That must have been a just total delight to write.
I had way too much fun writing The Reeling Ball.
Give us a taste of that one.
Well, there's a character called Fergus Scarlettmore. He was actually the first character who came to me. He sort of strode into my brain wearing trousers the color of smoked trout and a melancholy frown and started heckling Penn. There's a lot happening at The Reeling Ball, but one of the things that's happening is a kind of mating dance between Fergus and Penn. The characters not knowing exactly what it is they want.
There's something Jane Austen about what you're describing there.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I love Jane Austen. I love Jane Austen. I mean, Evelyn Waugh writes funny college scenes very well, and young people thinking that they're sophisticated.
Yeah.
I mean, Jilly Cooper does such a great job of writing about the mating dance with a sense of humor.
Yeah. Well, and there's something so perfect and obvious, but writing about an actual dance as the mating dance is taking place in between the steps. It all comes together. Alert listeners may be wondering what on earth an octopus has to do with any of this. So explain your title, The Life Cycle of the Common Octopus.
So I don't want to give too much away, but I can say that the octopus in this novel is a metaphor for a kind of Loch Ness monster that I tortured myself with in early motherhood. And I don't think I'm the only one. This concept of the perfectly self-sacrificing mother for whom independent life and ambition cease to exist. Now, the octopus in real life is famous for spending a large portion of her life brooding over her eggs. So this creature works very hard to make it to adulthood in a difficult world, and then after mating, stops eating and begins to waste away while taking care of her eggs. And this beautiful brooding process is quite tragic. It is something that we as humans should not aspire to. Our children need us to be our authentic selves. They need us to continue living and to show them what it is to be a truthful person in this world.
I think you just ventured toward answering what was going to be my last question, which was the question that Penn poses to herself. Does a mother have to choose between being selfish and being eaten alive?
Oh, goodness. It's a daily question, isn't it?
Yeah.
No. A mother just has to carry on being herself.
That is Emma Knight, very much herself, talking about her debut novel, The Life Cycle of the Common Octopus. This was a delight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Louise.
This message comes from CarMax, boldly searching for your next used vehicle. With CarMax, you don't have to settle on anything when it comes to your ride. Instead, steer clear of the ordinary and buy the car that's right for you. Because CarMax makes it easy to stop settling and find a car you'll love today. Start shopping now at CarMax.com. CarMax, the way car buying should be. This message comes from Carvana. Finance your next car the convenient way with customizable, transparent terms all online. Make your budget work for you and swap hassle for convenience with Carvana.
In a lot of ways, mothers lead dual lives. There's the life of the family and the life of the individual. And according to novelist Anita Desai, sometimes that individual identity gets squashed, hidden away somewhere. She plays with this theme in her novel, Rosarita, and tells NPR Scott Simon that when that individual identity is suppressed, well, that's when secrets happen.
Bonita, a young woman from India, sits in a park in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, when a stranger approaches to say that she looks just like her mother, whom she calls Rosarita. The woman says they studied art and partied together in Mexico decades before. Bonita, who is in Mexico studying languages, says that's impossible. Her mother never went to Mexico. Her mother never painted. The woman must be mistaken, or a trickster, as she begins to call her. And yet Bonita remembers a sketch in pastels that hung above her childhood bed. Is it possible that her mother had another life, not just before but apart from her family? Rosarita is the latest novel from the three-time Booker finalist Anita Desai, who has been writing acclaimed novels for 6 decades. She joins us now from Cold Springs, New York. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
This woman almost flings herself on Bonita. Why doesn't Bonita just say, nope, you're wrong, can't be my mother?
Well, when one is traveling, one has these strange encounters. They're not easy to dismiss. They're exactly what you came to find, to discover, and to explore. So she has left India behind. She had not expected to find anything from India and Mexico. Yet here she is in Mexico, and she finds India all around her. She can't escape it.
Please tell us about the picture above Bonita's childhood bed. It's of a mother and child, right?
Yes, well, it's something that Bonita as a child never paid much attention to. It was simply there. Certainly she never connected it with her mother or with herself. But now in Mexico, with the words of the trickster in her ears, she begins to wonder if there was such a connection. That's what leads her on this path, not forwards, but backwards.
I notice you refer to the woman as the trickster. Does that settle the issue? Is that what she is?
I leave it unsolved and up to the reader. There are times when she behaves like a trickster. She says things which seem so totally unlikely. And at other times, the narrator has glimpses of her which reveal a very real person with very real feelings and a past. And in fact, they do go and visit a bit of her past also. I'm not sure if she's a trickster or just a fantasist. To some extent, we all are, especially when we travel. We can invent our lives.
Does Bonita recognize the person this woman says is her mother as the mother she knew?
No, she didn't. She never knew that her mother was a painter or never knew that she ever went to Mexico. These things were never spoken of during her childhood in her home. So she has an entirely new picture of her mother, which had never occurred to her. There was no hint of it. And now the trickster's trying to persuade her. And in a way, she's almost persuaded, not certain, to the very end.
Your novel might make a reader ask, do a lot of people, and women especially, have dual lives that never quite came to be? I said women, not to exclude men, but to try and recognize that there are still in this world a lot of women who subordinate themselves to the lives of men.
Yes, I agree that women have to do so because, in a way, they do lead dual lives. They lead their own individual lives and they lead the lives of their families as well. So part of them is divided anyway. And sometimes that individual life is allowed to exist, and very often it is not, and has to be suppressed or hidden. And in that way, yes, there are secrets there too, just as there are in this book.
What do you think fiction can do for people these days?
I think fiction exists for many different reasons and for many different writers. But I think fiction should be used to tell the truth. Sometimes one can't tell the truth for various reasons. It begins to sound polemical. It is not acceptable to some readers as it is to others. And that's why I choose to tell my truths through fiction. There's a wonderful piece of advice given by an American poet, Emily Dickinson. I wonder if you know her lines when she says, "Tell all the truth, but tell it slant. Success in circuit lies."
Too bright for our infirm delight, the truth's superb surprise.
Right. I think this is just the perfect message for a novelist, for a writer.
Anita Desai, her new novel, Rosarita. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it.
That's it for this week on NPR's Book of the Day. Let us know what you think. You can write to us at bookoftheday@npr.org. I'm Andrew Limbong. The podcast is produced by Danica Panetta and Chloe Weiner and edited by Megan Sullivan. Our founding editor is Petra Mayer. The show elements for this week were produced and edited by Ryan Bank, Ed McNulty, Emiko Tamagawa, Todd Muntz, Dee Parvaz, Fernando Navarroman, Samantha Raffleson, Grace Griffin, Catherine Welch, Justine Kennan, Lauren Hodges, Elena Torek, and Martha Ann Overland. Yolanda Sanguini is our executive producer. Thanks for listening.
This message comes from Homes.com. When you're home shopping as a parent, you have lots of questions about local schools. That's why each listing on Homes.com includes extensive reports on local schools, including photos, parent reviews, student-teacher ratio, school rankings, and more. The information is from multiple trusted sources and curated by a dedicated in-house research team. It's also you can make the right decision for your family. Homes.com. We've done your homework. This message comes from Mint Mobile. From the gas pump to the grocery store, inflation is everywhere. So Mint Mobile is offering premium wireless starting at just $15 a month. To get your new phone plan for just $15, go to mintmobile.com/switch. This message comes from Warby Parker. Prescription eyewear that's expertly crafted and unexpectedly affordable. Glasses designed in-house from premium materials starting at just $95, including prescription lenses. Stop by a Warby Parker store near you.